Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I've taken some Prima engraver paper from my stash and I have embossed it with a Tim Holtz embossing folder, and now I am just tearing it into little strips, just random little size strips, and I want to just kind of collage those down to my canvas to go ahead and start adding some texture immediately. This canvas is all about the texture. I wanted to see just how far I could go with creating texture, so that is the whole theme behind this. So embossing papers already adds a ton of texture to it, and it's a really, really pretty effect. I'm just using Fabri-Tac glue to adhere everything down. And I'm taking some Tim Holtz gears that I have cut out with my die. I'm not sure, I think it's called Sprocket Gears, the Tim Holtz die. And I just cut them on a medium weight chipboard, and I painted the front of them with gesso to go ahead and get them nice and primed to take all the shimmer sprays very well. And unfortunately, you'll see me adding a lot of texture mediums on here, and unfortunately when I did this canvas, it was before I had received my yummy Shimmerz textures and dazzlers, which are now in the store. I did a Ustream on them, and then Heidi has a demo video as well. They are amazing, y'all. I wish I would have had them when I did this canvas, but of course I can always do another one. So I'm just taking those gears and I'm adhering them down randomly, cutting them in half on some so I can have them wrapped around to the side of the canvas. I just want every area to be covered. I usually leave the very bottom strip of my canvas out just so it will sit up properly and not have anything in its way. But other than that, I like to cover all of my sides of the canvas. And I'm going to start out using some gesso to start building up my layers and to start building up my texture. This is just some lightweight gesso, and I'm going to go ahead and go over my gears in random areas. The whole idea was like I want the gears to blend in with the background, almost like they were emerging out of the canvas instead of just, you know, an afterthought put on there after the canvas was done. I just wanted it to all look like it meshed very well together. So I'm just going to start out with gesso and kind of cover up some of my gears, get the texture covering them up. And I'm just using my palette knife to do so. And now I'm taking some texture paste, and this stuff's really gritty too. Like I said, I wish I would have had our textures and dazzlers, but I didn't, so I'm just using some regular modeling paste and texture paste for my stash. And I'm just going over the same areas that I hit with the gesso, and I'm just kind of gunking it up a little bit more, making it a little thicker, and covering up those gears to where just parts of them are showing. And now I'm taking some crackle medium. This is some Martha Stewart crackle medium. And of course, obviously, hence the name, it gives really tiny crackles off. It's a really pretty effect. So I'm just going over those same areas, just going on top of where I've already been. And because I want some clean lines on those gears. I want a lot of it covered, but I want some clean lines as well. So I'm just going over all those areas with the crackle medium. Now I'm going to go back in with my gesso again because I don't want that sandy color to be everywhere. I want some of that color, but I want a lot of white too. So when I do my spraying, you know, it'll affect the different colors differently. The gray color from the texture paste will be much darker than the white of the gesso. So that's what I'm doing there, just trying to give myself a good background for some varying colors. Okay, so now I'm taking some Mod Podge, and I'm just randomly kind of pouncing it down on my canvas all around because I'm going to use the enamels from Shimmerz. I'm going to use it in Silver Fox, and I have found that any kind of glue, Mod Podge especially, works better with the enamels, even like rubbing it on your stamp and then stamping down and using that instead of a Versamark, because the enamels is very chunky, so it really needs something to really grab it. So if you are using Versamark, just make sure you really get a good impression on there. Because it's super chunky and just yummy goodness. Also, the Mod Podge, when you heat set the embossing powder, the Mod Podge will bubble as well, and it just creates really, really pretty texture. So hopefully you can see there on camera kind of what the effect is, but if not, in the still shots you should be able to tell. You can also see all the other texture starting to form back there too. I'm going to take a little bit more gesso and kind of undefine the edges. I don't want there to be like blobs of embossing powder, so I'm just trying to get it to where everything just kind of meshes into each other. Then I'm going to start my spraying, the fun part. I'm going to be using cotton candy spritz is first up, and I'm using a lot of pinks and blacks and browns. I know I tend to use those a lot, but it's just my favorite color combination. I can't seem to stray away from them. So that's the Pop Art Pink and Vibes, and I'm just going around and spraying that one as well. And I'm not even really heat setting in between layers. I'm just kind of drying it a little bit, but not completely. That is Treasured Hem in Spritz, one of my favorite colors. And that is Hot Fudge, another really, really pretty color. And I'm going to go in with some of the Snowstorm just to kind of get everything to kind of blend together a little more. It just kind of tones down the browns. It just starts making everything mixed together. Adding a little bit more of the Pop Art Pink there. And I've got that part all dry, and I'm going to go in with my Before Dawn. This is like a really smoky, black, grayish color. It's not as dark as the licorice, but it's really, really dark, and I really love it. I've got some chipboard pieces here. These are all from Imaginarium Designs, and I'm just going in with gesso and kind of pouncing my paintbrush on them, and I'm going to add some little seed beads to them. So I'm just letting the gesso kind of be the glue on there, and then I'll go in with some of my shimmers and pearls paints on top of that, and it just creates a really pretty effect. Okay, now I'm going in with some of the Opal Shimmers. It's a really, really pretty color. And then also some of the blings. And I'm just adding a lot of texture on there, kind of contrasting the color of the chipboard and then the color of the gesso. And it's just really shimmery and chunky. And now I'm just going to start placing all of my elements down, starting with some cheesecloth. And I'm just using a little bit of hot glue in random places just to kind of glue little pieces of it down. I want a lot of movement, so I'm not going to really adhere it all the way down. And I'm just playing around with where I want my words to be, and it does say love, cherish, adore, just in case it doesn't come across on camera. And now I'm going to start adhering my little flourish piece down there. And like I said, I did cut it in half, or actually in thirds, because I'm going to be putting a lot of flowers, and I don't want to cover up that really pretty flourish piece. So I'm just trying to make it stretch out a little bit further, and I know that those inward corner parts are going to get covered up with flowers. And now I'm taking some Before Dawn spritz, and I've got a Prima flower there, and I just sprayed the center of it just one time. It was like a blue color, and it just darkened up the center and kind of faded as it went out, and just made the flower blend in with my canvas a lot better. That is a Lyric spray right there, and I am just adhering it down with some of the Fabri-Tac. And I've just got a bunch of different Prima flowers from my stash, and a little kind of like a jute twine bow that I tied out of some trim I had from my stash, and I'm going over it with gesso to kind of soften it up. And I'm just tucking in all my little flowers, making a little cluster. And I'm taking some Finnebar metals. These are the little metal flowers, and I'm just tucking those in random places. And I've got a Melissa Francis resin piece. It's like a big door knocker. Had it in my stash for quite some time, so I figured it was time to pull it out and use it. And that flower, the metal flower, I cut it in half, so I'll put one piece down at the bottom and one at the top. So that is pretty much it, y'all. I hope you can see all of the texture we created on here, and then adding the shimmers on top just makes it really magical and really pretty. So here's some me holding it close up to the camera, but of course the still shot photos will do much better justice at showing it. But of course, don't forget to mention my name when you check out at Shimmerz, and you'll get a free spray paint of your choice. And make sure to check out our new textures and dazzlers. Alright, I will talk to you later. Bye.